Well, welcome back to the Ropes Family Podcast. We're continuing our series talking about whatever Courtney wants to talk about.
Oh, I like this series.
Hey, you talked sooner.
I did.
So I have Courtney here on the podcast, like I always do for all 82 episodes that we have, I think.
Yeah.
This is 82, 81 or 82.
I don't know.
We're in the 80s.
Somewhere.
We're in the 80s, so this is the I should have been calling it that the whole time in the series, talking about whatever Courtney wants to talk about. So Courtney came up with this topic. I don't know where it came from, but I will. I'm going to ask you. But so what are we talking about today?
Talking about, well, the title is Rest, Is It Real?
Rest, is it real?
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're going to name it on the episode.
I don't know. That's just what I called it.
Okay, rest,
It's
is
literally
it real?
what I wrote. But
So what made you want to talk about rest?
well, it was really when I started thinking about the Sabbath and do we take a Sabbath as Christians or do we take a rest day?
Okay.
Or do we just take another day?
Yeah.
Just another work day.
So what is the Sabbath?
Well, my definition here is the day of the week observed by Christians for rest and worship.
By Christians, it says.
And that's what, well, there was a Jewish definition too, but I chose the Christian one.
Okay, that's okay.
It
Do you know why it's on? Well, okay. So,
it was on Friday or Saturday for Jewish.
Yeah, for Jewish people, it's normally on Saturday, Shabbat. I guess it starts on Friday night.
That's what it said on the...
Because I visited a Jewish synagogue for a class of mine. I don't know if I said that on the podcast. But it's called a Shabbat service. And Shabbat means, I'm not going to get too technical, but Shabbat means to seize. So they have a service that marks the beginning of their Sabbath, Shabbat, and that means to seize and to stop work. And so what was the definition? Did you read it? Did I just cut you off?
No, it was the...
Oh, you said...
But then the definition of rest is to cease work or movement in order to relax.
So Shabbat, to seize. Wow. I didn't know you had that written down.
Yeah.
Look at there. Shabbat means to seize. So we're talking about rest and Shabbat and Sabbath. So Sabbath is something that, like, it's not really common to be talked about in our circle of worlds, but I really think it should be now more than I think. I mean, I'm sure it's the need for rest has always been around, but it stems from, I think, or I know that it stems from in the creation story where God, 6 days and then rested on the seventh, right? 6 days he worked and then rested on. He didn't need to rest, which was the cool thing, because he's God. He didn't need to rest, but he did to admire creation, and I think that us as image bearers, or us because we're all image bearers, we need that same rest. But, and I have a couple interesting things, but I'll let you kind of start the conversation on why do you think we need rest?
I think as a society today, which everyone that I know is like this, we just go and go and go. And rest is really seen as being lazy.
Yeah.
Because if I take a moment to just sit and do nothing, I feel useless. There's 50,000 things that I could be doing if I'm just sitting.
Yeah.
I mean, I could just be looking outside or even just sitting on my porch or sitting in my living room, whatever. It's just looked at as lazy.
Yeah.
Because there's so many things now that could be being done. I put that in quotes. And especially like talking about our Sabbath or whatever, talking about a Sunday is what I'm really referring to. Back in like my great grandma's days, I told you this earlier, she said that they took Sundays as a rest day. Her dad was a farmer and they worked hard all week. Yeah. Saturdays were still a work day, but Sundays were not. They went to church as a family. They came home, they ate lunch together, and then they rested. Now they might, listen to the radio or do a puzzle or whatever, but there wasn't work and there wasn't just this busy, go that we do now.
Yeah, and I understand Well, the interesting part of Sabbath, and I think that the part of rest, is it includes worship. Mm-hmm. It's not, and I think that's a really cool thing about Sabbath.
Mm-hmm.
Is it's one thing. Sabbath is something that benefits people,
Mm-hmm.
the worshiper, as well as the one who's being worshipped.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a gift from God to people. And in the biblical times, in the New Testament times, the Sabbath was mistreated isn't the right word, but almost it was held to a legalistic standard. Like,
Yes.
you have to rest, and you can only walk this far away from your house, because if you walk 2,001 cubits from your house, then you're working.
Mm-hmm. Or when they questioned Jesus, and
Yeah.
he said, "Man was." Oh, were you going to say that?
Yeah, I was going to read it. Jesus is the Lord of the Sabbath. And so I'm going to paraphrase. Jesus and the disciples were walking through a grain field, and the disciples were, as they made their way, the disciples were plucking heads of grain, and just eating them. And the Pharisees questioned him on that. And Jesus said to them, the Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. So the Son of Man is Lord even of the Sabbath. And that's in Mark 2:28 or 27:28. But I think that shows like the Sabbath is a gift for people, and it's a gift, and it allows us to worship, but it isn't something that needs to be like strict about. But it is a form of devotion, I think, and I think that we've lost that in this culture for sure because of the hustle culture or the American dream. We have to always be working to achieve what we're trying to get to, right? But I think it's countercultural to rest. Like you were saying, we just don't rest anymore.
Well, even in our meeting this week, Donovan said something about after church, people don't stick around and talk to each other anymore.
Yeah.
And that got me thinking about today's episode. And I was like, I mean, that's not resting per se, but that's like more of that hustle. Let's go. We've got stuff to do after church. And
Yeah.
I know there was a time where people would stay around, they would talk, they would fellowship before they went on, or there would be a meal or whatever before they went on about their day.
Yeah. And I think another point about rest is it takes prep work. Donovan was
To rest.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny.
Yeah. I mean, God worked for 6 days and then rested, right? Donovan let me borrow this book. I'm trying not to laugh at it. But it's by Tommy Jones, but the foreword was by Phyllis Tickle. And that's an incredible name, Phyllis Tickle. But anyway, there's a section in here talking about the Sabbath, and I guess Tony, Mr. Jones, was talking about when you implement a Sabbath into your daily or your weekly rhythm. Try not to do, for your kids, try not to do homework on Sunday night before school. Try not to, have chores done. Try to make it Sunday a day of rest. But what that takes is maybe your kids have to do homework on Saturdays, and you have to get all of your things. Rest takes prep.
It does.
And so does worship. And so that's kind of where you can kind of see where a Sabbath is a form of worship. It's a form of devotion to God because it takes prep. But it also takes sacrifice to be able to do, which is kind of weird to say rest is sacrifice, but especially in our world, where there's cultural stigma against not doing nothing every day. But I think if you just have that mentality of intentional rest out of worship and reverence for God, I think it'll really benefit you as a family and you as an individual for sure.
One thing I really was thinking about is rest now like real?
Yeah.
Because even when we're resting, we have a full computer in our hands.
Right.
Are we actually resting and taking time to recharge or whatever? Or are we just...
Is our rest good?
Yeah, that's kind of...
Do we have good rest? I think, and I thought that same kind of point is like, when we're home, and we're resting or not doing anything, what do I have? I have my phone.
Yeah.
And my phone is constantly, we've talked about this, my phone is constantly trying to give me things to think about, or to pull my attention. And sometimes I'll catch myself like I'm trying to rest here, but I'm so worked up, or I'm just looking for something and I can't figure out what it is. Like, and it's because I've looked at my phone for too long and I've gotten all these ideas or ambitions, or the algorithm is taking all my dopamine out of my head, and I'm trying to figure out which way's up, and I think so. Rest needs to be an intentional thing. Like, and I know it's hard. Put your phone away, or you can in this book that I mentioned by Tony Jones. The book is called The Sacred Way. He talks about a Sabbath, looking like you go to church on Sunday morning, come home, eat lunch, watch a football game. You can consume stuff. Just don't work, but if consuming the thing is becoming a hassle or pulling you away, I think that it's pulling your rest away. And so is rest real? I think it's achievable, but it just takes, like we've said, it takes work to do, which is hard. And prep work, not work in the moment, but prep to be able to do it. So, just tell people Saturday night, hey, if you need to get a hold of me, don't do it on social media or whatever.
Don't.
Or invite them over for the meal. And rest can be in community. I don't think Sabbath was be locked in your room by yourself. And
no.
Rest can be in community. And I think that that's beneficial. That's why church is great. And this was a little nugget about Sunday mornings, is why Christians do, or would say they celebrate Sabbath on Sunday, is because it aligns with the resurrection Sunday. So that's why we do it on Sunday. And then it kind of has some historical, one of the Constantine or somebody was like, we're going to mark this day as the official day of Sabbath for Christians. But that's the reason why, is they worshiped on Sundays because of the resurrection. That's the difference between Jewish and other stuff. And I really think that the Jewish hold to the Sabbath is much more, they hold it in higher regard than Christians do. And, that's due to a couple things, the old covenant versus the new covenant, but
theirs does get legalistic to me too.
And Christians can get legalistic about all kinds of things.
Oh,
too.
yes, we can.
We kind of tend to focus on the wrong things to get legalistic about, but but I think that I really think that I know, and it's tough to rest. And so how would you, Sunday comes along, how are you going to rest? Well, give us some practical, or give us what you would hope rest looks like for you. Put you on the spot.
Yeah, let's do this. On a Sunday, well, in the fall especially, we like to come to church, of course, and then leave and go home, eat something that I have, prepped in advance and have for us to eat, and then just hang out in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Watch football. The kids will play or come in there and watch football with us. But it's still warm enough here to go outside, spend time outside, and just not do much.
Yeah.
And it's finally, because after all week we've done all this stuff, it's nice to just be at home. And that's kind of my ideal rest day.
Yeah, I think that, the crabs would be very similar. We'd probably go to the Lolly and Pops, or somewhere and get some lunch, or do something like that. But I think that, and we're not doing it intentionally, we've just kind of carved that out, but we also, I think we could do it intentionally to where we are prepped and ready to not do anything on a Sunday. And I think it would really benefit our family to do stuff like that. Just because it takes Allison gets these things called the Monday scaries, or the Sunday scaries, because of Monday it's coming up. She got to do all this stuff. And so if you're prepped for everything on Saturday, it kind of eliminates the Sunday scaries because you're already ready for Monday morning on Saturday night. You know? And I think that's good. And I really, that's kind of the same. I guess crabs would do the same thing, is we just kind of hang out and not do anything. But But I also think that I don't think this is the right way to do it, but I think that there are times each day where we can Sabbath, where we can rest. But if you do it like that, it leaves it easier to reschedule. You know, oh well, we'll rest tomorrow. You know, instead of we got all this stuff, and there's no prep. You can't like prep for it or whatever. So I think that the crabs could really benefit from rest and figuring that out. We were looking for scriptures talking about Sabbath, and I specifically wanted to look for New Testament scriptures because that's kind of the covenant we operate out of. I'm not saying that the Old Testament covenant stuff doesn't apply to us. Jesus came to fulfill the law, not abolish it. And so in Hebrews 4, 9 and 10, it says, "So then there remains a Sabbath rest for the people of God. For whoever has entered God's rest has also rested from his works as God did from his." Going back to the creation story, God rested from his works. So we rest from ours. And Hebrews is written to a primarily Jewish audience. So it's written to these people in the Old Testament. Like, they grew up knowing all of the Old Testament laws. So it's not saying we shouldn't not rest as Christians. We should still find rest and carve that out and make it a part of our weekly liturgy, I think, of family worship specifically. You know, and that's a great time to focus on the Lord and what he has and what he's done over the week and what he's going to do. And I know by the end of the week that we are exhausted. We're exhausted by Tuesday usually.
Yeah.
But I've heard this so much about Sabbath and rest, and I just haven't been able to take it seriously. Not seriously is the wrong word, but look at it as a form of worship until kind of prepping for this podcast is looking at it that way. And that really opens it up for it takes the guilt away from it, from not doing anything.
Being lazy.
Well, we're not being lazy. We're doing this to, like it says, whoever has entered God's rest is also rested from his works as God rested from his. We are following the example that God set. And I think that, I can talk around this 500 times. I think it would really benefit a lot of people. It would benefit my family for sure, but I think it would benefit in our culture, in Ropes, Texas, where everybody's going a million bajillion miles an hour, a million places all the time. 4 basketball games on a Saturday. We have 2 doubleheaders on Saturday. We're already tired from those. Just thinking about it. I really think our culture, our church, the church as a whole should have a bigger emphasis on this. Just for this aspect of its worship and that it benefits both us and it is worship to God. Right. I really think that's, and I had that thought in the bathroom a minute ago. I'm going to edit that part out. Josh, that was a little weird to say. But I was like, Sabbath is something that benefits the creation as well as worships the Creator.
Well,
go ahead.
We're going into baseball season where we're supposed to play 60 plus games starting next weekend through the first weekend in June. Yeah. That's a lot of games. That means we're going to have to be intentional. Mm-hmm. When we do not have baseball, we're going to have to be, or even when we do have baseball, we're going to have to be intentional with rest and with worship as a family.
I think you can rest by playing baseball. And I really think you can, as long as you make it intentional about worshiping the Lord, taking an intentional day of rest. I really think you can. But like you said, it takes work and it takes being intentional. Yeah, good call on that. Yeah, so the family challenge is be intentional with rest. Make it a prep for it. You got to prep for it, and then you got to execute it. And it's just like worshiping. It's just like doing a family worship time. You got to be intentional. You got to make it happen. And it may be hard the first couple of times you try to do it. You know, we still struggle trying to read the Bible every day. We do it, but sometimes my 3-year-old is upside down somewhere. You know, so we still do it regardless, but sometimes it just takes work, and it's not always going to look like how you think it's going to look either. Mm-hmm. You know, family worship and things like this aren't always pretty. Mm-hmm. But I think that we can work towards it, and I think it'll get that way. All right, that's all we got this week. Whatever episode this was, we will be back with another episode talking about something else that I don't remember at this very second, but it's something Courtney wants to talk about. So we'll talk at y'all later. Peace.